Well, hello. Today's the 1981 Ray Harryhausen movie Clash of the Titans. The king of Argos has his daughter and grandson put to sea in a wooden chest. Zeus, who is the father, destroys his kingdom with the Kraken. Perseus grows up and is transported to Joppa by the goddess Thetis. He is given powerful weapons by Zeus. He finds that the city is cursed by Calibus, a man cursed by Zeus to be a beast. The princess Andromeda can only marry if the suitor answers a riddle correctly, and if not, he's burned alive. Perseus manages to capture Pegasus, the last of the winged horses. He follows Andromeda to the swamp and learns the riddle. Thetis, though, is not done with punishing Joppa for mistreating her son Calibus. She demands Andromeda be sacrificed to the Kraken, or the city will be destroyed. Perseus journeys to visit the Stygian witches and finds out that only the head of Medusa can defeat the Kraken. He travels to the island of Medusa and successfully slays her and gets her head. Calibus then tries to stop him by creating giant scorpions from the blood of Medusa. Perseus, though, manages to kill Calibus. He arrives in time to slay the Kraken and save Andromeda. So this 1981 movie was Ray Harryhausen's last movie. He was the expert in stop motion, and this was a really great movie for him, kind of his swan song. And it starred a lot of fairly big names, like Laurence Olivier, Maggie Smith, Claire Bloom, Burgess Meredith. I think the producers did want to have some big name recognition, so the gods, Ursula Andress, they had a lot of the gods in that. It's kind of cast with some big names, and they didn't have to do much work. It was just like for only 8 days they filmed the scenes that were used for them. And they did want John Gielgud to play the part of the scribe, the poet that accompanied Perseus. But the studio actually decided they wanted an American actor, so that's why they hired Burgess Meredith, because they didn't want this to be perceived as an entirely English film. And that was fine, because I think Burgess Meredith did a great job for this. And it also had Harry Hamlin, who was the star. At the time, he was kind of an unknown. I know he went on to kind of more fame in the law drama series L.A. Law in the 80s. I think that's kind of his really only big claim to fame. And apparently had a relationship with Ursula Andress on this movie, and they had a son from it. The movie was a great success. It had like a $9 million budget, but it made $70 million. It was like one of the highest grossing movies of 1981. And of course filmed in Italy, Malta, Spain, and of course the Pinewood Studios in London. And they wanted to, I guess there was kind of a vague doing a sequel to this that Harryhausen wanted to do, but he decided he didn't want to, because he just wanted to spend time with his family and retire, and figured that the era of the stop motion movies was over, and the big budgets of Spielberg and Lucas and those heavily laden special effects, and that would be the future, which he was probably correct. I really loved Harryhausen. I think his stop motion, uh, his stop motion work was just brilliant. I loved every one of those movies. It has such a uniqueness to it that the CGI stuff just seems to be so soulless. So I kind of miss these old stop motion movies of his. But they were great movies. This movie actually did get a sequel in 2010 with Sam Worthington, and that movie was okay. I remember seeing it in the theaters, but it was nowhere near as good as this movie. I mean, this movie is just really fun. It's obviously based on Greek mythology. The Greeks were the ones who really invented the epic hero in that. It's just an enjoyable one with the hero having to surmount all these odds and monsters and jealous gods and save the princess, and then they live happily ever after. Simple, but very effective. And I know this was a really fun movie. I think it's just enjoyable. I still love it. I loved it as a kid, and I still love it now. And I highly recommend it. So, if you stuck with me this long, you're a unique individual. Thanks.